Oh, oh. All right. Everybody doing today? Not too bad. So,
It's going.
huh?
Going.
It's going. It thinks so. You just having a date, huh? I know you think you having a date.
Had a bunch of VA appointments, so it's been like back to back.
Oh yeah, let's get a little frustrating. Come on in. Hey. Um. Okay. Anybody have any questions about anything from last week, anything like that? I haven't got to the case studies yet. I'll get them soon enough. I don't know how that confusion occurred with the groups. I was like, I had no idea. I don't know if that started with you guys or if it started with the other group. There was so many different points of friction. I was like, okay, I'm not really sure what happened here. So I'm glad to see you guys got it together and came to some consensus and got something in. So hopefully it's good. All right. Anybody else? Any issues with the case study? No? Good? All right, cool. So week 6, right? Let's do this week. Final paper draft, right? Do this week, okay? Make sure you get that in. And again, I'm not looking for a complete project. I'm just kind of trying to see where you're at. But whatever you submit, it should be complete, right? If you submit 5 pages, it should be 5 complete pages, good to go. Okay, so I can read it and kind of get an understanding of what's going on with your project. Okay. Anything else? No? Okay. Okay. So today we're gonna talk about ethics and marketing, right? Probably one of the areas where ethics is very much a major issue when it comes down to marketing, product placement, advertising, and all that other good stuff. Okay. For the longest time, um, certain industries have had a hard time with their ethical standards and their stance um, within the corporate environment, right? Cigarettes, uh, pharmaceutical companies, gas and oil, big business in general, and trying to figure out if the purpose of the company is strictly to just make money, or is it to be a contributor to society, or to, sell your product, good or service in an ethical way where you're not causing harm to someone, right? We watched the video last week of the Ford and the Pinto. Ford, decided to go a certain way when they had an ethical dilemma. Instead of fixing the problem, they chose to sell the product the way it was and just decided that, we'll be able to deal with the lawsuits, right? At the end of the day, because we'll make so much money. And we don't want to lose out on this opportunity. We're trying to get market share and all that stuff, right? So do the benefits or do the goals or ambitions of the company, are they more important than your well-being or my well-being or societal well-being? Okay. And this is a question that has been around for the longest time. Okay. From selling my goods and wares, what is my responsibility to the consumer? Okay. This is where we get fraud all day, right? People come in, right? They're selling their product. They know their product is shoddy, or they know they are running a Ponzi scheme, or they know they're being fraudulent in some way, right? But they choose to do it anyway because of the benefit, right, that they're gonna receive, whether it be short-lived or long-term, and or they can get away with it. Makes a big difference as to whether or not they continue. But it's always about how are we marketing this product? How are we portraying it in the news, right? How are we packaging it? Okay. Remember a couple weeks ago, I talked about, you know, where supermarkets put the cereal and the sweet stuff, right? They put it at eye level for kids, right? Is that unethical, right? Is that Are we looking at a business practice that, is strictly about taking advantage of the fact that this is a child and that the parents are gonna do anything to appease the child to a certain degree, right? But we should leverage that in our business operation. We should leverage that with our placement, okay? If you ever walk around the store and you see things the way they're placed, it's all strategic, okay? Those things are there for a reason, all right? When you go check out in any supermarket, really any place now, Best Buy, even Home Depot. I was at Home Depot the other day. I was getting screws, and I turned around and they had like 5 fridges of Gatorade, uh, Coke, Sprite, candy bars, potato chips. And I was like, "It's Home Depot," and they had it right at the register. All right. Now, why would they do that? Why would they put it right at the register? At every register.
Yeah, for the kids.
But well, there's no kids coming to Home Depot, right? But why would they do that? Why would they put candy and potato chips and soda and beverages right at the checkout? What's the purpose behind that?
Upsell.
Okay. Yeah, that's it. Right? It's Home Depot, right? You're not going in there to buy groceries, all right? So the only reason it could be is that they're trying to capitalize on the fact that some people come in and they're hungry, all right? Or if we look at IKEA, right? What's in IKEA that has nothing to do with furniture? Restaurant, okay? IKEA has a full-blown cafeteria in there, okay? And if you ever go in there and you look at the food they're serving, it's not bad. But what's most important about the food they're serving is the price point, all right? It's relatively inexpensive, okay? It's clean, tastes good. People come in, right? Another company that does the same thing, Costco, right? People literally go to Costco so they can get Costco pizza or get Costco hot dogs or get Costco whatever, right? Part of the marketing approach for Costco is just that, right? Come in, eat some food, right? We know you're buying food and we know you're buying things, but after you're done, because shopping is hard. Shopping makes you hungry, right? Come on in, sit down, have a pizza, have a hot dog, have a soda, have something, right? It's all to make more money, okay? And something that's not their business, right? Their business isn't a restaurant, it's not fast food, but they realize that people will come in and do impulse buying, okay? People come in, they always say, when you go grocery shopping, don't go grocery shopping hungry because it's proven that you will spend more money because everything looks good. Before you go grocery shopping or get on Instacart, whatever you do, eat first, be full, and then go shopping, right? Because if you don't, you're gonna end up buying a whole lot of stuff that just looks good, okay? Packaging looks nice, you're hungry, you're thinking about, man, I could use a hamburger, or I could use a hot dog, I could use some chicken, I could use some bread. I don't eat any of that stuff, right? You guys don't eat you eat hamburger? No, maybe for that, maybe lamb. Yeah, I know, yeah, you guys, I know, yeah, you guys are vegetarian, I know. That's what I'm saying. But you might buy it because you're hungry. You're not gonna eat it, but you're hungry, right? And so companies go through a rigorous process when you're trying to figure out, okay, what do we do about the marketing of our product, okay? And just and making sure that, not only is our product a benefit to society, but it's not harming anybody. All right. It's not a detriment to what we do. And it's done in an ethical way in which we can kind of say, you know what, we're selling a quality product and we're doing it correctly. We're not trying to deceive you. We're offering you, the product, high quality, And it wasn't, produced or designed in any way that's unethical, right? Most things can say that, right? Sort of. But then you got diamonds and some other stuff that, you know, excuse me, blood diamonds, even coffee, right? Those particular things sometimes get harvested or get processed in an unethical way, right? But when we talk about marketing, right, we're really talking about how do I package something, how do I present something to the consumer, uh, give them value, but still enjoy the benefit of the sale and making money as an organization, all right? And so companies have come up with a lot of deceitful ways in which to do that, all right? Specifically, the cigarette companies back in the 70s and 80s, right? Went through a whole iteration of lawsuits and that kind of thing because their marketing, based on their internal emails, they were marketing for kids. They were marketing towards kids, right? Because if I'm a tobacco company, I have a certain timeline in which I have a customer, all right? And so the longer I keep that customer, the more money I can make off of them, right? And so in order to do that, I need to maximize my time with them. So the best thing is for me to market to them when they're young, right? If I get a 12-year-old hooked on cigarettes, that's a lifelong habit. Let's just say they live to 80. That's 60 some odd years of them buying cigarettes, right? And you, as well as I, know plenty of people that have been smoking for 40, 50 years, especially in the military. You know that all day, right? And in other countries, smoking is just part of the culture, right? If you go to Korea, when you go to Europe, it's they're smoking everywhere. Okay, it's just nonstop smoking in the restaurant. When I was in Paris, I just couldn't believe how much they smoke. It didn't matter. They just restaurants. They don't have the same rules we have here, right? So the cigarette companies got into a lot of trouble because they were marketing to kids, right? Although they didn't necessarily see it as unethical, right? It was because cigarettes is known to stunt your growth, all right, along with other health conditions. But when they first started advertising or marketing for kids, tobacco was considered a somewhat of a healthy thing, okay? And if you get it straight from, the farm, the land, and you just grab the tobacco after it's processed and you smoke it, it's pretty clean, right? It's pretty clean, right? It's after the companies get it, then they process it, right? Because why do companies process things? Last longer, right? Makes it bigger, okay? You think a cow's really that big? You think a chicken's leg is really that big, right? You think that cigarettes really are that addictive, right? They are, but it's because of the stuff they put in it, all right? Processed things are not necessarily good for you. But there's lots of instances where the government, right, had to do certain things in order to facilitate the marketplace, all right? Even though it was unethical, like cheese, all right? Anybody know where, I mean, back in the day, they always made cheese, but how did cheese become such a big thing in our society? I don't know. You guys, do they like eat a lot of cheese in India? A lot of cheese, right? All right. We eat, bunch of cheese here. Okay. Probably made differently, right? Different, more natural, probably in India, and less the additives and preservatives. But here in the States, right? How did cheese come about? Anybody know how cheese became such a big deal?
I know it became super popular after World War II,
Okay.
like dairy products in general,
Okay.
but I don't know how it
Okay.
got to the level it is now.
So basically, the dairy market was overproducing, and they had to figure out what do we do with this extra stuff, right? Because after you process the milk, all right, you get the curd and the whey and all that other stuff, right? what do we do with that, all right? And they realized like, oh, we can make cheese, right? But Americans were not really cheese people, right? It wasn't until after World War II when the GIs came back from World War II that they were like, we want cheese because they had been accustomed to cheese in their little rations. They had been accustomed to cheese from Europe, from Paris, Italy, all those places that cheese was a normal thing, right? Same thing with sugar, right? Sugar wasn't something that was a big thing necessarily, right? Your candy, but they would limit the sugar as far as intake. And then somewhere along the line, sugar got overproduced. That's when the government steps in and says, hey, put sugar in everything, or forget sugar. We need a cheaper alternative to sugar, which we have now, right? Which we have is now no longer something they use all the time. What's a good substitute for sugar that's been in? No, you're close. You right in that range. It is a glucose, but it's a specific glucose. Anybody know?
No, the brand names of them, like Stevia, Splenda. I
Stevia,
don't know what the actual like thing
yeah,
is called.
stevia is a little different because it's plant-based and it's actually extracted from plants. Splenda, I'm pretty sure is NutraSweet, which is a chemical man-made, right? High fructose corn syrup, right? Right? That's yeah, definitely glucose, right? High fructose corn syrup is the syrup that they put in sodas, juice, right? You have to read the ingredients. If it doesn't say all natural, organic, or something like that, there's probably high fructose corn syrup in it, right? Because it's cheap, it's easy to make, and it works very well, right? But what they don't tell you that it's no good for you. It's terrible for you, okay? Saccharin, sucralose, right? Alcohol sugars that they use as sugar substitutes, right? All that stuff is not good for you, okay? But because of the way the laws are, right, it's an acceptable level of impurities, right? FD&C, right? You guys know that when you see FD&C on a package for coloring, FD&C number 5, right? Everybody know what FDC mean or FD&C? It's basically food coloring. It's an acronym of food coloring, that's all. Okay. Food color number 5 or dye number 5 yellow or yellow number 5, right? Because there's different shades of yellow, right? So when you see your food, if it's not, it doesn't say natural color, natural ingredients, then more likely it's processed, it's dyed, right? To make it look a certain way, to make it more strawberry-ish, right? Or make it more watermelon-y, right? Look like cheese, or even cheese, right? Cheese is not that orange. If you ever see real cheese after it's pulled out, American cheese, yellow cheese, it's orange, but not like that. Okay? Here in the States, we add a little color to it. Okay? We add a couple things to it to make it look that way, to make it tasty and consistent and to make it last, right? But we don't want to fool the customer. We don't want to deceive the customer. So it's very clear, like, hey, this is what we're doing, right? As far as marketing, right? We put it in pretty packages, right? Everything's marketing. Everything, is about presentation when it comes to marketing. Presentation and placement, right? Price is important too, right? But presentation and placement are extremely important, especially for men, because we're more visual, right? If something looks good, we're probably like, oh, I'll give it a try, right? If anybody here, may or may not, indulge in alcohol, okay? And you don't know which alcohol is good, right? How do you choose? How do you choose sometimes if you see a drink that you want, whether it be juice or whatever, but you don't know what the juice tastes like, and you don't know which one to pick? How do you choose which one you want? Google? Okay, aside from Google. The name? Okay, that's marketing. What else?
The label.
The
Like if
label?
it says some type of fruit on there that I like.
Yeah, the packaging, right? So a lot of times you won't hear this from guys talking, but you hear this from women sometimes. How do well, I don't say how, not all women, but a lot of women I know, the way they pick their football team is who has the best uniforms. I like their colors, right? I like the colors. I like the way the colors look. But that team's terrible. Yeah, but they have nice colors. They got nice uniforms. Okay, it's all marketing. It's a package, right? What's it look like, right? It may look good. It may not taste good, or it may not look good, but it tastes good, right? So companies go through this iteration of how do we package this thing to where it's going to pull you in and draw you in, right? But you also have to think about, is the product, the way it's packaged, is it deceptive in nature, all right? So for about 10 minutes, I want you to go on the internet and pull up everything that's going on with TikTok right now. Just general, you don't have to get too specific, just kind of the things that TikTok is going through right now. And then we're gonna discuss that. All right, so I'm gonna give you like 10 minutes. Uh, let's say 6:05. All right. Just have some notes ready for yourself and we can talk. Hmm. Anybody good, or you need more time? No? Okay, all right, so who wants to give me a breakdown? What's going on with TikTok? Mm-hmm,
January, not very bad, and all US services.
mm-hmm, okay, all right, yep. Anybody else? What's next? Is something else? Hmm, anything else? Did you guys find?
Used by 13 states accused of harming youngsters.
Okay, okay. So that, Nathan, you find something else?
I didn't see any legal, I didn't look at legal stuff. I looked up more like psychological stuff, and they're showing that like TikTok is, since it's so relatable to the human experience, it's becoming like a fear of missing out within children.
Mm-hmm,
And since a lot of the content on there is mostly violent or sexualized because it's adults,
mm-hmm,
kids are starting to go into that genre because of the FOMO.
gotcha.
That's what I'm seeing.
Like, kind of same thing. Right? So basically, TikTok has a whole new set of problems on their hand because now they're getting sued by the government for their marketing tactics. Right? That's what it kind of boils down to, right? In detail, it's exactly what you said, right? Their marketing is such a way that it's making the kids turn the kids into addicts of TikTok, right? They are consumed by it, and it's basically there's no um, monitoring of the content. There's no real regulation. There's no oversight of what's going on TikTok, right? As far as that has been explained in the news, right? But we have the one side where they're dealing with the government and having to sell their portion because of the connection with China. But the other side, we have the marketing aspect of it all, right? How is TikTok different than Instagram or Facebook or Snapchat? How is TikTok different, and why are they feeling the wrath and not necessarily any other platform?
And most of that's an American company,
Okay.
it's owned by the company that starts to be
Mm-hmm.
Chinese government.
Okay.
That puts a lot of fear and a lot of politicians mentality of that.
Okay. Definitely. All right.
I could guess. I don't have any of these platforms, but I could take a guess and an assumption that like TikTok, it shows you all types of content no matter what your interests are, right?
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm
Yeah, I don't know either.
Yeah.
With like Snapchat and all that, you have to follow those type of things in order to see them.
okay.
I think TikTok is just, you just scroll and it just shows you everything.
So from a marketing standpoint, right? What's the difference between what Facebook does and what TikTok does? Is there a difference? Mhm.
Like a lot more ads as the influencers selling products all the time.
Okay.
People on there, like, most of the videos are now about them using things that be like a clothing brand or some like technology companies are selling their viewers the product essentially.
Right. Okay. So, when it comes down to TikTok, Michael brought up a good point about them being kind of a Chinese-owned company, right? So then that puts them in a different level of scrutiny, right? But the other thing is that because of the way TikTok is and um, their long-term approach to how to attract more customers, right? Because TikTok really is, although it's very popular, it's not the same as Instagram, right? It's different. Not the same as Snapchat. They have a large market share, but they're always trying to get more, right? And it goes back to the whole philosophy that the cigarette companies had, right? If I can get this kid or this child hooked on my platform, that's a customer I'm gonna have for a longer period of time. By someone that, is, our age, your age or my age, I have a limited amount of time with them, right? So I'd rather market them, right, to younger kids, right, and not worry about the content so much. And then have them for a longer period of time. Okay, so if they get older, they stay with TikTok, right? But you know, social media platforms always change and they don't last forever. Facebook is probably the longest lasting social media platform, and last time I heard, only old people use Facebook now. I don't know, that's what they told me. Okay, so I have no idea. But Instagram, you know, all those platforms will eventually start to die out, right? We had MySpace that died out, right? Facebook died out. Snapchat kind of started dying out. It's starting to die out, right? TikTok is eventually gonna go away, whether it be through the sale or just through, you know, government intervention of just getting rid of them. But when you look at the marketing of all these platforms, right, and the things they've had to do to change their marketing, right? Mark Zuckerberg has been to Capitol Hill, I don't know how many times, right? Because of the monitoring of the content, right? And the marketing of Facebook, right? This is why you've seen Facebook has kind of changed in a way, like a lot of the platforms have, right? They have more ads on the platforms. When MySpace and Facebook first started, there were no ads on there. It was just straight up like the connection, network, and that kind of thing, right? But as time has gone on, the marketing companies have realized, like, look, I can get to more people if we market on these social media platforms, right? And so there's no consideration that was given to what are the long-term impacts of social media on our society, right? When you do some studies or you read some studies and you look at how social media has impacted people, right? What do you guys think has happened in the kind of the lifespan of social media and its impact on society? Both good and bad.
Because nowadays, don't want to be doctors or lawyers anymore, they want to be content creators. Like, you go to Amazon and just go out, they always be the next YouTuber, the beast, or
Right.
the doctor.
Okay. So that's a good and bad thing, right? You got people that want to be creative and innovative and go through the gig industry, but at the same time, they are not looking at some more of the traditional professions that we need and were once at one point, you know, very uh valuable or sort of or revered, right? When you're a doctor, oh, my uncle's a doctor, or I'm gonna be a doctor, right? Like, oh, that's good for you, right? I'm gonna be a lawyer. Oh, that's good for you, right? Good job, right? You're smart. I'm gonna be a TikToker. I don't know what that means, right? I have no idea what that means. I just know you're gonna make a lot of money though, right?
More than that doctor
More than the doctor, right?
per month, what they make per year.
Right. More than the doctor easily, right? And you're gonna be entertaining people, right? And you get your creative juices out, right? Because not everybody can create content, right? I can create. I'm terrible at that stuff. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do, right?
Well, no, that's part of the appeal to create content that anybody can make content.
Mm-hmm.
So like, there's this person watching YouTube, random, kind of awkward, corny dad lives in Alaska, but he makes content of him just walking around in the forest,
Yeah.
surviving. And normally the guy probably passing on the street, you wouldn't think much about it, kind of this corny, awkward kind of dad,
Mhm.
but makes a lot of dad jokes. But he has a channel that has like 10 million followers.
Right.
Average gets about 20 million views.
That British white guy?
Right. This is
I'm assuming he's British.
it's called the Outdoor Boys. This is
Yeah.
I don't know, his videos are interesting, I don't know why, but he's a normal guy who's
Yeah.
probably wouldn't make any interesting content, but just about living his normal life. People are appealing to that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, because when you think about it from an ethical standpoint, right? And think about why is that guy so like appealing to the masses, right? Because he looks like a regular guy. Reminds me of myself, right? Just an average dude, right? If he's average, then he's doing this, I could probably do it too, right? And that's the whole notion behind why certain things are successful and other things are not, right? So that's one good point, right? But what else is out there that social media has done to our society.
Information.
Access to information, right?
I've been watching things about Israel or Ukraine from different like online sources that I wouldn't see through normal social media.
Right.
From, like first person point of view, certain conflicts or atrocities or anything between.
Okay, all right.
The massive spread of misinformation.
Massive
I
spread.
mean, both sides of the political spectrum.
Yeah.
Not even that, even like
Just in general.
everything.
Right? Just in general, right? There's so much information out there, you really don't know what's to believe, right? I don't know what's real, what's not real, doctor videos, deep fakes, voiceovers. I have no idea what's real, what's not real, right? So social media definitely has that impact there, right? But what other impacts has it had?
Negative impacts on mental health.
Okay,
That's
right.
for sure.
It's had negative impacts on mental health. People are literally addicted to social media, right? People are on X, they're on Instagram hours at a time. Yep, right? They're texting, right? Nothing's wrong with that if you have a balance. Right? You can be on there for hours if you want, but what's happening is that it's starting to bite into people's time when they should be doing other things. Okay, you probably should be working. Yeah, I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. You probably should be doing your homework. Yeah, I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. Probably out with your friends. I can FaceTime them. I can send an Instagram with where I'm at, right? And they can see it, and they can all. What do they do with Instagram? Is it comment or tag? What do you tag somebody at? Is that Facebook or?
Fact that we photo or
I know you can do some on Instagram. You tag them or you.
Yeah, we tag in the comment.
Yeah, is it that? Okay.
Memes.
Yeah. Yeah, right. You can do all that, right? And so you have this kind of false or fake relationship, right? If anybody here, even such platforms as LinkedIn, right? It's a professional social media site, sort of, right? Where you have all these connections, right? But do you really know them? No, right? I have a bunch of people always ask me to connect. And I connect because it's a numbers game, right? Especially if they're in the same field as me or they're interested in things I'm interested in, right? But it's the way that it's marketed, it's the way that it's portrayed as an innocent, benign way to decompress or to see videos or to support endeavors that may be, global in nature that you would never be able to see otherwise, right? Not to be wrong, there's a lot of things on TikTok, and I spend most of my time on YouTube. That's where I spend a lot of time, right? Looking at videos and stuff like that about whatever topic I like, right? And they're all opinions, okay? They're all opinions. But at the same time, the way they're packaged, the way they're delivered matters to me, right? If I feel that there's a particular YouTuber who is delivering consistent, truthful content, I will probably subscribe to them, right? I will probably go to their YouTube site and patronize them, right? But a lot of stuff on YouTube is just fabricated. It's just a bunch of nonsense, okay? People just get on there and they do whatever, okay? And so, again, when you look at all these things in totality, the social media market, that marketing apparatus, has a lot of ethical dilemmas it deals with, right? Because I want to get my product out there. I want to give people the freedom of speech. I want to give people the ability to post whatever content they want, right? But is it right for me to let them do that? Is it right for me to let them put a video of a beheading or rape or some kind of murder or something like that, right? I'm sure you guys, probably seen Instagram and Twitter where somebody's being beat up or hurt or shot, right? It's not unusual anymore. Or swatting, right? They do the swatting thing, right? All that stuff is stirred by social media, right? And it's not that, social media is totally bad because it's not, right? And it's not that these things weren't happening before. They were. It's just now we can post them, right? But is it the company's obligation to go ahead and take those things down because they're disturbing in nature? Or is that a violation of your rights to view whatever you want and you decide whether it's too much or not for you? Right? Who's the responsibility? Where do we kind of get that to that area where everybody gets treated fairly, right? Because the consumer and the government are quick to sue a company. Okay, people are very quick to sue Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Oh, just even this thing with TikTok, right? It's just another nail in the coffin. They got an agenda for TikTok. Come on in. Hey, oh, you're good, quick. Come on in. They have an agenda for TikTok, okay? TikTok got some other things because of the China connection that they're pretty much screwed. No matter what, they're gonna pile on some more on TikTok. But all the other platforms, right? There has to be some gray area where I can allow the consumer to use the platform like it's supposed to be used, but I also need to protect them, right? But whose responsibility is that? Is that your responsibility to not let your kids watch TikTok, right? Or is it the platform's responsibility to make sure they censor and go through all the content that they're posting, but that means violating your rights, right? Because there's a freedom of speech. I can say what I want, right? I can post what I want, right? So who's exactly got the responsibility here? What do you guys think?
And the shared responsibility.
Oh, okay, somewhat, but yeah,
Then I put some restrictions on what, like, posts it, stats.
we'll come back to that. What are you gonna say?
So our responsibility.
It's your responsibility. You think it's yours, right? As the client or the consumer, to not consume that or to control those things, right? Okay. Anybody else?
I have a radical approach on it. I don't
Let's hear
think
it.
there should be, people should not be allowed to have aliases online. I think you're online, we've gotten to a point where technology has advanced so much that I think you should have an online identification.
Mm,
And if you post something to a platform that contradicts their terms of use, you get banned from it. And then you can't go and make a new one like, oh, Anon 22708, and then just
right,
continue posting, gore.
right. Well, I mean, that's an interesting idea. The
But it would
problem,
never happen.
yeah, the problem with that is that they already have something like that, which is, like you said, your email, whatever it is they use for your user ID. That's what that's supposed to do. But again, we can kill one user ID and then boom, sprout back up a new user ID, right? Put a 1 or 2, right? It's a unique identifier at that point, right? So that's an issue. But if we had an assigned ID, like a social security number, right? This is your social media number. It doesn't change. You can change the username all day, but whenever you register for a social media site, you put your username in, this ID is gonna ask for your unique social security, social media ID, right? So it doesn't matter, right? Which we kind of have already, sort of.
That would be a Fourth Amendment violation, huh?
Exactly, right? Whose freedom are you violating now, okay? Right? So in our particular situation in the United States, right, a lot of this onus is on the corporation, it's on the company. This is why companies can come in, that's why governments can come in, individuals can come in and sue TikTok, can sue Facebook, can sue Twitter, right, or X, excuse me. Because the fact is that those companies have more resources than you and I have, right? If you're the gatekeeper, if you're the person in which all the information funnels through, you should be the one deciding what gets posted, what gets displayed, right? And then from there, kind of explain to the person as to what Mecca was saying about hey, there's restrictions, right? You can't put that on there, right? Because as a society, we've decided this is a norm that you're not going to violate, right? We know as a norm, murder is not acceptable. So why would you post murder or someone getting murdered or hurt on a social media site? And except in the case of entertainment, right? Content creation, that kind of thing, right? We know that's not real. That's a movie or whatever, the video, okay? But some real things, right, get posted onto social media, right? But we have restrictions against that. Okay, when people violate those restrictions, that's when the company step in, right? But the company has a responsibility to make sure that whatever they're producing doesn't harm you, right? It also will try to make sure that it doesn't violate any of your rights. But the protection of the consumer, the protection of our society is more important than your individual rights in most cases. Okay? And so when marketing people think about, how we're going to market this particular product, right? They think about all those things. What are the ethical questions that people are going to pose to us, right? Because some people don't care. They're like, look, if you want to post it, you can post it, and it's up to you as an adult to manage your children's affairs, right? But we all know if it's out there, people will find a way to see it. Okay, it doesn't matter how well encrypted it is, how security, all this other stuff, right? People are lazy. I'm looking at it on an iPad. I go to the fridge, and then next thing you know, my kid got it, and they're looking at it and wondering like, what is this, right? How is that the company's fault? Okay, but at the end of the day, it is, okay, because the company is offering you a product and expecting money in return. Okay, whenever there's a transaction or there's something that we're bartering or exchanging services for payment, right? There's an obligation on the person that or the organization or entity that is selling the product. The assumption is that the product is usable, it's in good condition, or it's in the condition as you stated it is, right? Because it's as is, right? That the product's gonna do what it's supposed to do, and the product is fairly priced, all right? So now, is this an ethical situation? Think about the hurricane right now, okay? That's going down in Florida. It just hit Tampa, and it's hitting all the winds, right? This morning, there's a report that most of the gas stations were out of gas. Okay, there were like a couple of gas stations that had gas. What do you think happened? What do you think happened to the people that went in to get gas and there were like 3 gas stations?
They just sit there.
We would just sit there.
Well, I mean, I was in New Orleans when Katrina hit,
Mhm.
and like, we were trying to leave to go up to Tennessee 2 weeks after, and we had to stay at a gas station in line for a couple of days.
All right, to get gas, right?
Yeah, you don't have any other choice, you just stay there.
So, but what happens to the price?
I would skyrocket.
Skyrockets, all right? Now that's gouging, that's price gouging, right? To a certain degree. But do you guys think that that's ethical on the part of the gas station?
in my company.
Yeah.
Probably no, because the time of emergency.
Supply and demand, it's kind of like,
Right? So, Omega, what you're thinking is the way that we'd like to think. Ideally. But what Nathan is saying is what is pragmatic, right? From an organizational standpoint, I want to maximize the business. So, yeah, it makes good business sense for me to raise the price, right? Supply and demand. There's limited supply, I got it, you want it, how bad do you want it? Okay?
I know it's not practical, but in my head, I think a better practice would be to like lower the prices down, because it feels good before you get a reputation for the company. Like, if you all heard that Shell dropped the prices down to like 10 cents for, it's been 2 weeks.
Mhm.
We're gonna remember that, we remember that, and build more trust, and, you have more trust in the companies, and you're more to go into them, you know, take care of you, if these get bad. So it could be on the different side, like, beneficial, and, yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
that definitely is a good CSR approach to it, right? But why, what's wrong with that?
Well, they would have to limit how much gas people could buy, because people would, the
Yeah.
first couple people would buy it all, put it in tanks, and then they would resell it.
Okay, so you have a minimum or maximum amount, right, that you could, right? Okay, but aside from that, what's wrong with that?
It was a lot of money.
I mean, yeah, technically, if you lower it, you lose money, and you lose money, right? But in the think about the oil and gas industry, it fluctuates, right? Sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down. So, I mean, relatively speaking, yeah, it go down, you lose money based on the current price being one thing, and then you actually selling it for another thing, and you lose money that way, all right? But there's another reason why it wouldn't happen. Now think about the product, especially specifically oil and gas, in the way what role it plays in our lives. Okay, and how the consumer is being affected by it. So let's just say, run the gas station and they raise the price, and then you know you need the gas, right? Right? Gas, milk, water, necessity, right? Right? It's something. It's an economic policy that we call is inelastic. Okay? No matter how high the price goes, I'm gonna pay for it because I need it. Okay? I need it. Now, if I lower the price, right? Yes, it's seen as a good gesture, it's seen as ethical, right? If I raise the price, it's seen as unethical, right? But guess what?
They're still gonna buy it.
They're still gonna buy it, right? Either situation, they're still buying it. And even worse is that no matter the situation, they're still gonna come back. Even if I raise the price, hurricane's done with, they might remember that I raised the price and I gouged them, but guess what? They gotta come back. Okay? And that's the advantage the business has. I know that this is an inelastic product, right? No matter what the price is, people are gonna buy it because they need it, right? And because of that, I can kind of do what I want, right? It really boils down to how do I want to be represented? How do I want to be perceived, right? If it's a big company like Shell, BP, Exxon, you know, they might say, look, and all these gas stations are independently owned, right? Most gas stations are owned by individuals, right? But let's just say, you're part of Exxon and you're part of the franchise and you own damn Exxon on the corner, whatever, okay? And you get a call, they're like, hey, lower your prices, okay? You go, well, I'm gonna lose money. I know you're gonna lose money. We got you though. Okay, we will recoup your lost funds, right? Because as we mentioned, that's gonna help with our perception. It's gonna help with our, image, right? But at the end of the day, if I have an inelastic product, it doesn't matter. You might be upset, you might complain, but you're gonna come back anyway, okay? Because you have to. So whether or not something is priced right, or if I do the right thing and don't try to gouge people, right? The best thing to do is just to leave the price the way it is, right? Because that's what I advertise. Everybody knows that. I'm not raising it, I'm not lowering it, right? I make my money, and when it runs out, it runs out, okay? The business side of it, though, says you need to raise the price. That's good business, okay? But it's unethical, right, to do that, okay? It's unethical. It's unethical to, just say, oh, I'm going to advertise a certain price or a certain thing and say it does this when I know it doesn't, right? What they call kind of bait and switch, right? Sometimes it happens for a job. You going for a job as for a manager. You get there, and before you even know it, they go, job's been filled. But we have another position that we're looking to fill. You'd be interested? Well, let me see what it is. Well, this says stock boy. Yeah, that's what we got. You got a stalker, midnight shift, by yourself, and you gotta be able to lift at least 50 pounds. Like, wait a minute. And how much is it? How much does it pay? $12 an hour. Well, the manager job was $35, $40 an hour. Well, that's the manager job. The manager job was never open. There was no such thing. Okay? We're just trying to get people in the door because we know we put stock boy $12 an hour, no one's gonna show up. Okay? So the marketing in it and the fact that we had to do unethical things in order to get people interested in the job, right, is wrong, right? Although it served its purpose and it's not illegal, well, it is illegal. Bait switch is illegal, right? But it's hard to identify, it's hard to really prove that they bait and switch someone, right? It's just a difficult thing, right? But companies do it all the time, right? And so when you look at, kind of these factors and elements of marketing, right? What, how, why, and under what condition is something produced? Okay. What price is acceptable, reasonable, and fair, right? And this is probably the most objective part of marketing, the price. Okay, because the price is relative to whoever is buying it, right? The value is in what you think it's worth. All right. Anybody here collect Beanie Babies? Ever been Pokemon cards? Yeah, long time ago, right? Pokemon cards, to the younger generation that collected them, they were valuable, right? And now, if you try to go buy Pokemon cards, right? If you have a collection, a complete set of Pokemon cards, how much do you think it's worth?
A couple thousand.
Millions. It's literally worth millions.
Card, yeah.
Millions. I was so shocked by that. Beanie Babies, millions. Because the value is derived from the consumer, the client, right? It's about I don't care less about a Beanie Baby. I'm not paying anything. I'm not paying a penny for a Beanie Baby or Pokemon cards or anything like that because it's not valuable to me, right? But give me a basketball signed by Michael Jordan or Kobe, I'm paying some money for that, right? Give me a concert that I can go to that is, Sade or something like that. I paid gazillion dollars. I did pay gazillion dollars to go see Sade, right? I paid $800 to go see Sade. One ticket, just me, right? Sitting in front, $800. But that was valuable to me. But as compared to the person in the back who was like, I like Sade, but not that much, right? People pay to go see Beyonce, $1,500 a ticket. Taylor Swift, $1,000 tickets, right? See Taylor Swift.
1 billion gold.
Right? To go see her, right? When you look at all those things, are those things necessarily ethical in nature as to the way they're priced, right? Because business and ethics should go together, but there's a way in which business gets a pass on ethical things because a lot of business is not ethical. Okay, a lot of transactions not ethical. What planet would is it ethical for me to pay $2,000 ticket to see anyone? Right? It's not. It's because supply and demand, right? The law of economics, the law of business. It's smart, it's good business, right? And so because it's good business and we are capitalistic in nature as a society, right? As far as the US anyway, right? We're going to let that pass as not unethical. That's just good business. Okay. And that's how business has been operating. That's how corporate America operates. Because we all know that the food at McDonald's is crap. The food at Burger King is crap. The food at most fast food places is crap, right? Think about the healthiest fast food you can get. Chick-fil-A, maybe, right? I don't know, Rubio's or Chipotle. Still pretty much crap. Okay? We know that. But guess what? It's good business because it's convenient. It tastes good from all the processing, right? Or maybe, like Chipotle, use pretty much fresh ingredients for the most part, right? But it's still the whole point of like, we know there's some unethical things going on behind there, right? And if you go even further, right? If you see some of these, and they don't really do these anymore, right? But probably like 20 years ago, there was a big push on these documentaries that took you to processing plants where they processed meat, they process chicken, cows, process, turkeys, right? And you see what happens in the processing, in the, kind of the meat harvesting, right? It makes you not ever, ever want to touch another piece of meat. Okay? Because that is the unethical side of it all. But it's made legal because it's in the name of society. It's in the name of, what we want to consume, right? There's many vegetarians, many vegan vegetarian societies, not just people, it's the whole countries, right, are vegetarian, predominantly vegetarian, vegan, right? So it's not that it's not possible, it is, because that's how we started, mostly vegetables, and you sacrifice a lamb or goat way back, and it'd be one lamb, one goat, and the whole village or whoever would eat, but after that, it'd be vegetables and, fruits and that kind of thing, right? But because there's a consumer demand for it, right? We're going to overlook the unethical aspect of it all, right? And not even when we try to highlight it, even then, it's seen as, oh, that's not how it really goes. We're doing everything above board. And they may be doing everything above board, but according to what rules? All right? Who made these rules up? Who said that this was an ethical way to kill a chicken? Oh, it doesn't hurt the chicken. How do you know? Did you talk to the chicken? Did the chicken say this doesn't hurt? Go ahead, kill me. Right? Even something as simple as crab or lobster, right? Anybody ever put a crab or lobster inside a hot boiling pot? A live crab or lobster? You can actually hear it scream. You actually hear it go. Like there's a very faint, like screeching sound, high pitch, like. And the first time I heard it, I was like, oh my God, this is alive and we're killing it. It tastes good, right? I love crab, I love lobster. But the whole notion of that, hey, we're killing something, right? It's somewhat unethical in nature because I want to, not because I necessarily need to, because I don't need to eat lobster. I don't need to eat crab. I can eat vegetables and be fine, I can eat fruit and be fine. We will not die if we don't eat meat. Right? But nonetheless, the industry has created an environment where it's okay to do that, right? Because at the end of the day, we're about making money, right? Forget about the ethics, right? There's business ethics and there's ethics, right? Ethics in business is totally different than ethics in the real world. If it makes good business sense, then there's somehow, somewhere we can get around the ethics of it all, okay? Let's take a quick 10 to 15 minutes and then come on back.
You know, the Live Nation Ticketmaster is actually getting sued by the Congress.
For
Because
what?
they ruled them as a monopoly.
Yeah, I heard about that. I mean, it kind of makes sense. Yeah, because they bought up everything.
Mhm.
You know, you start buying everything up, you
own it,
limit
yeah.
yeah, you limiting competition. You know, that's why they won't let AT&T try to buy um
T-Mobile, not T-Mobile.
no, not T-Mobile. What's AT&T Verizon. They tried to buy Verizon, or they tried to merge. They said no.
That would be one. That would
It
control
just,
everything.
yeah, AT&T is already the biggest, largest provider, right? And now you're gonna merge with Verizon, which owns basically the third largest market share. T-Mobile owns a little bit more and that's because they bought Sprint
And Cricket.
and Cricket, right? Okay, and so, yeah, they're not gonna let these people do that because that limits the consumer option, right? But at the end of the day, you know, if it's gonna make $1, we can push ethics aside. They're gonna find a way to do other things, right? It's because there's partnerships, there's other things they can get
Joint
into.
venture. stuff
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, there's plenty of other stuff they can get to in which they can maximize or share resources, like Toyota did with Mazda.
Blow up over here.
Is that his computer? I was wondering what the heck I thought it was rain for a minute. I was like, is it raining outside? That must be an old computer. Or a very low processor.
Mhm.
That fan's way too loud. Yeah, yeah, probably like four gigs with a
1200 something.
yeah,
processor.
so yeah, so just some J processor, yeah. A i2 core, like old one, but hey, it works, it works. Are you loading?
I'm not sure.
Hmm.
I would have to technically, because my driver's license is Tennessee, so I think I would have to technically vote.
Oh, you're not a California resident?
Yeah,
You are?
no, I still have a Tennessee driver's license. I was legally supposed to change like years ago, and I just never did.
Yeah, yeah.
I've been lazy on it.
No, I didn't do it for, I was 5 years, 6 years. I waited for my Florida driver's license to expire, and then I went and got a California one.
And I think mine's expiring 27.
Yeah,
So it's still, because Tennessee license, they last like 12 years or something. That's
Okay.
ridiculous.
yeah. Hmm.
Laptop is about to grow wings and take off. Sounded like an airport a few minutes ago. The fan kicked on real hard.
All right, move on. All right, so ethical issues in marketing and framework, right? So the market exchange is prima facie ethically legitimate because it involves respect for autonomy and mutual benefit, right? So prima facie is a more of a legal term. Does anybody know what prima facie means? Yeah. Basically means on the surface. At first glance, it looks like everything is all right. Okay. So it's a term lawyers lose, or it's used in legal realm, where when we look at the evidence at first, it looks a certain way, right? And until we do an investigation, we get more details, right? So when investigators go to the DA or go wherever, right? They say, oh, prima facie says this and this, all right? We send out an indictment. And then we have to do an investigation and all that other stuff, right? When it comes to marketing, right? On the surface, it looks like, we have respect for autonomy, right? And when we talk about autonomy, when it comes to marketing, we're talking about your free will to buy my good service or product, right? You can pick any airline to fly, right? This is why some airlines say this, right? You could pick any airline to fly, but you chose us, right? Thank you, right? Because as a consumer, you have multiple choices as to who you give your money to, right? And so there's autonomy, there's freedom in the purchasing power that you have, right? There's no coercion. There's nobody telling you like, hey, you gotta go to Best Buy, right? If you don't go to Best Buy, we're gonna kill you or we're gonna hurt you, right? You do whatever you want, right? And there's a mutual benefit. You get the product or the service, I get your money, right? Or we trade products, goods and services, whatever the case may be. Then an exchange that helps us in whatever way we need it to help us individually, right? You come to class, I'm here, right? What's the benefit to me being here in class? Huh? Right. Me? Me, personally. Get paid, right? Right? My mutual benefit is that they pay me to be here. Your mutual benefit is that you are here to fulfill, the curriculum and to get a grade, and you're here to learn, right? Really, that's what, it's supposed to be, okay? But there's a mutual benefit, right? Whether or not you are indirectly, benefiting me, right? Because it's not like you give me the money. I wish you did give me the money directly, but I don't get that, right? School gets the money, but they give me a portion of it, right? As the expenses, right? Because it's mutually beneficial for them. They employ me, I give instruction, you give them money, and then they pay me at some point, right? After they take out all the expenses or whatever the case may be, right? But again, I could choose to teach at any other school, right? I could choose to do something different also. So there's an autonomy there and there's a mutual benefit there, right? Ethical judgment is conditional because the transaction must truly be voluntary, okay? And this is more probably relevant because you may think you're going in to voluntarily buy something, right? It's not that you're getting forced to buy it, but you may not be buying what you think you're buying, right? So for instance, when you go in, maybe to buy a car, right? Do you really know like what's wrong with the car aside from what they told you? You don't, right? You're voluntarily coming in to buy the car, but you have expectations that the car is in working order. There's nothing wrong with it. Doesn't have a salvage title. There's no damage done to it that they haven't disclosed, right? If they don't disclose it, then that is illegal, right? And you can sue them and get all your money back and those other stuff, right? They didn't even keep the car sometimes. Okay. So the transaction must be truly voluntary. Informed consent is needed, right? This is the way they disclose all the information. It's been in 2 accidents. We had to repair the frame. The suspension has been replaced, right? Steering wheel been replaced. It was in Katrina. It has water damage. It has a salvage title. All those things, right? That's informed consent. That way, you can make a decision about what you really want to do, right? It's kind of being in a relationship sometimes, right? You could be dating, and the person that you're dating, people that you're dating, they think that it's exclusive, right? That you're only dating them. When in all actuality, you're dating, right? And so they're making the decision to date you, but it's not an informed consent decision, right? Because you haven't really told them all the facts. The fact is that you're dating multiple people, and I'm telling you that so you can decide whether or not you can deal with that. Okay? Are you okay with that? Because that's going to sway them one way or the other, right? They could be like, yeah, I'm cool. I'm good with that, right? Because they're going to go do their thing. They're going to go hang out. Or they may be like, no, I can't do that. I don't like sharing. I'm jealous, da da da, whatever the case may be, right? I'm just not that kind of person. I need you to be committed to me, right? And so they don't have all the information, so you can't make an informed decision, right? So informed consent is needed, right? Benefits might not occur, right? You might very well buy the car, or you might very well, be paying for this education. There's no guarantee that it's going to help you any, right? There's a lot of people out there with degrees that got no job, right? You got an art degree, a psychology undergrad, probably not gonna get a job. Humanities, not much you can do with that. Teach, that's about it, right? Psychology, you can use that, but you gotta go on and become a psychologist, right? Or psychiatry, well, psychiatry is different, but nonetheless, the benefit may not occur, all right? So if the benefit doesn't occur, then you have to think about what ethical ramifications are there if I know that there's a possibility that the benefit will not occur? Do I still sell the product, good, or service, right? If I am a masseuse or a massage parlor and people come in to get massages, right? The assumption is that when I leave the massage, I'm more relaxed, you loosen up the muscles and that kind of thing. But that doesn't necessarily always happen, right? When you go to a concert and you're like, oh, I'm just gonna listen to my favorite artist, the assumption is you're gonna have a good time. May not necessarily happen, right? So the benefits might not occur, and there's an understanding that the benefits might not occur because there's so many circumstances that may contribute to the benefit occurring, right? That it's just not solely a matter of an exchange. It's a matter of, okay, are you in a good mood? Are the other people that are with you, are they fun, right? Did the car or whatever it is do what it's supposed to do? It just had a limited time on it, limited lifespan on it, right? That kind of thing. Okay. So the benefit might not occur, right? Other values might conflict. All right. So for instance, at one point I had not a super duper issue, but I had an issue with buying Nike sneakers after I found out they had the sweatshops and that kind of thing, and they were taking advantage of the workers and paying them $2 a day or whatever it was. I had a real problem with that because I was like, you guys are making all this money, the margins are ridiculous, and you're paying you with $2 a day, not an hour, a day, to make these shoes in a sweatshop environment. I had a real problem with that, and that didn't align with my values. I had a real conflict internally. It didn't last long, okay? I'm no different than anybody else. You know, kind of out of sight of the mind. Thought about it, but then eventually I forgot about it, right? And I went to the store, got me some more Nikes, right? Or whatever it is that it is, right? Again, we may not necessarily have as much control as we'd like, but we do have some control, right? If we all decided as a group to say, you know what, we're not buying Nike anymore, right? It would take a certain number of us, a certain number to hit to be like, everybody is not buying Nike, or there's a boycott on something, and then that financial impact would be what would jar or make Nike react like, what is going on? Why are you guys boycotting us? There's a million people that say we're not buying Nike. That's at least $60 million easy that we're losing, right? What is the problem? What can we do for you? Well, the sweatshop, Nike, we don't like it. Okay, we'll close the sweatshop. Well, what about this? And we'll do that too, okay? Because they don't realize they can't get away with it anymore because as a group we've decided that it's not ethical, right? We don't like that, right? So we need to fix that. So other values may conflict, okay? These four conditions imply the following four questions, each of which requires considering several factors, right? Is exchange voluntary? We kind of went through this already, but let's get a little deeper dive, right? Is exchange voluntary? Is consent to exchange really informed? Okay. Are people truly benefited? And then it's competing values, right? Really, it's just making sure that as a organization that you present the product, service, good as it is, and that you give people all the information they need to make a decision that's going to be beneficial to them because they're giving you their money. Okay? They're giving you their time. They're opening up to you. They're giving you their being, who they are. Right? That's why people get mad when they get cheated on, or there's some kind of infidelity or some deception, right? Because you weren't upfront with me. You told me this and you're doing that. Okay? It's the same thing for corporate America, the same thing when it comes to marketing and ethics. If you are upfront, you say what the product or the service is about. These are the things that are challenges or like it's not, right? McDonald's is not healthy. McDonald's tastes good. McDonald's used to be cheap. Not cheap anymore, right? McDonald's, if eaten in excess, will probably kill you. Okay? Oh, I got all the facts now. Do I really want to eat McDonald's? Heck yeah. I'm going to McDonald's. Okay? And I'm gonna get what I normally get, a quarter pounder with cheese. Which I found out. Does anybody know that about the quarter pounder and cheese? McDonald's? It's the only thing that's cooked fresh. Everything else is frozen. They make the ground beef, they pull it out the fridge, they make the patty, and they cook it right there on order. It's the only sandwich that McDonald's has that they do that for. I was like, that's interesting. I don't know why. It's just a quarter pounder with cheese. I don't know. But it was just very interesting fact. I was like, okay, that's something they probably should advertise a little bit more. But maybe they don't because they don't want nobody else to ask them, okay, what about the other stuff? All the other stuff is frozen. All right. All right. Let's see. Some of this stuff you're not gonna keep beating up. Okay. So it says, in general, business has an ethical responsibility to design, manufacture, and promote its products in a way that avoid causing harm to consumers, right? Responsibility may mean the cause of something, and in another sense, it involves accountability, okay? And so this is kind of the foundation, the premise for lawsuits, okay? Were you responsible in some way in how the product was produced, designed, manufactured, right? Did you do it in such a way that you knew that there's a potential for harm? Okay? Now, there's certain things that are inherently produced that we know are gonna cause harm. A gun, right? Everybody goes in eyes wide open. You shoot a gun, it's gonna hurt something, right? It's gonna destroy something, it's gonna hurt a person, kill a person, we know that already, right? But the phone, am I expecting this phone to hurt me? No, right? But does the phone hurt me?
In other ways.
In other ways, right? In other ways that, when I was producing it, I probably didn't think of, right? And now I'm getting sued because, oh, the phone emits radiation. Oh, the phone is where people go look at the apps for Twitter and Instagram, right? The phone is where I'm texting and I'm on the phone all day and I can't connect with anybody because I'm on the phone, right? The phone got designed, that was not the intention. They probably didn't think of that. Right? No one thought of that. No one thought of the bad things that could happen when they invented the car or the television or anything. Tell you the truth, right? No one thought about the disadvantage of creating clothes, right? What's the disadvantage of of creating clothes and waste, right? What happens to the clothes after I'm done wearing them? And, all right, I'm too big for it, right? What happened to baby clothes? Did it get passed down forever? Like, no. Eventually, you gotta toss them somewhere, right? Only so many babies can wear the clothes, right? Only so many outfits you're gonna keep that are, you know, vintage, classic outfits that are good for any time period, all right? We recycle stuff, right? But no one thought about that when they were designing it, right? When they were manufacturing it, when they were making it, right? And so there's a responsibility for the company to think about what happens after the product is done, right? After the consumers consume the product, what happens to it after? And companies are responsible for that. To think about those things like, okay, you created something, but what happens after, right? Because that goes back to the Genesis and says, should we do this? Right? If you think about, and this really comes from a conversation about plastic. When they created plastic, we didn't have the same environmental conditions we have now. Nor did we think plastic was going to be plastic in a way that it impacts our life. Everything is plastic, right? But what's wrong with plastic? It's not biodegradable. You can't get rid of it. There's just no way, right? And so it ends up in the water, it ends up in landfills, it ends up just wherever it wants to end up. Okay? Do you think that they really thought about that when they're designing plastic? No. They probably were like, oh my goodness, we just came upon a revolutionary, innovative thing that we can use to make a gazillion things. And that's exactly what they did. Right? Plastic, there's no escaping plastic. Plastic is everywhere, right? As much as we try to regulate it, right? Even here in California, plastic bags are banned, right? Or you have to pay 10 cents for bags now, right? But you can't find a plastic bag anywhere in California, right? Paper or is that recyclable stuff, right? Which is great, it's fine. But you go to other states, you'll find plastic. Okay? But no one thought about those things when they were designing plastic, when designing clothing, they were designing the phone, right? And think about those things, right? And they do have to think about those things, about what happens after the life cycle's done. Is it our responsibility, right? And are we accountable for the product, good or service after the consumer is done with it, right? Batteries, right? Mattresses, for instance, I moved and I try to donate my mattress, not realizing they don't take mattresses anymore. They don't take bedroom sets, they don't take dressers, or they took dressers. They don't take bedroom sets, they don't take mattresses as donations anymore. So I was like, okay, what happens to it? Oh, we collect it, we take it to a landfill. And then what happens there? They try to recycle it, take out the parts and take out the fillings and, the springs and that kind of stuff, but there's only so much you can do with it. So you basically got a place full of mattresses and beat up parts, right? I haven't thought about it that way, right? This is why you got new kind of, innovation coming up with mattresses and bed systems and that kind of thing, right? Getting away from the traditional mattress, maybe going to more towards a Eastern approach to it, right? Because if anybody's been to Japan, right, they have mattresses, but they're really thin, and they mostly they sleep on the floor, or they sleep very close to the floor, right? So the mattress is very thin, and they sleep on mostly wood, right? The wood is the main piece of the support. They'll put a mattress down, unless you bring your own mattress and you have a certain way you like things, right? You're probably gonna end up having a platform bed or just sleeping on the floor or whatever the case may be, right? In Japan. Other countries, I'm sure the same way where, they try to limit particular items that they know they can't recycle or they can't refurbish or reuse, right? But there's a responsibility to make sure that you understand what the creation is probably going to cost and that you are going to be accountable for the things that it does after. Okay, this is why we have cap and trade, or why we worry about emissions, right? And that's why it's a responsibility of the companies to regulate that, right? When you talk about having a car, the car has to have a certain standard of emissions in order for it to be sold, to be let in certain countries, right? The United States has a very high emissions threshold. So if your car doesn't meet this particular emission threshold, you can't sell it here in the United States, right? That's why you see some cars overseas, you won't see them here, and vice versa, right? And so companies are obligated to figure out, okay, in the use of my product, what am I doing to everything else, right? I may not be harming people, but am I harming our environment? What happens to the tires? What happens to all the oils and the fluids in the car? All right. How does, the use of cryptocurrency, what impact does that have on our society? Right? Because if you guys know anything about Bitcoin and coins, cryptocurrency in general, right? It's a mining process, right? For the most part, for Bitcoin anyway, right? How are things mined? What is mining? Anybody know what mining is? No? Does anybody know how Bitcoin actually works? No? Okay.
Digital currency.
Yeah, digital currency, yeah, for sure. All right. But mining is basically the process of finding transactions in which it can be put onto the blockchain. That's basically at the end of the day. But what's the problem with mining?
What about power?
It uses a large amount of power, like cities worth of power. You need a generator, like you need a power plant to be, or you have access to a power plant to be a real miner. The miners that are Bitcoin miners that are really making money, all right, they have access to a power plant. That's how much electricity it takes. This is one of the reasons why Bitcoin was having such a hard time getting adopted in Congress and senators. Some of these folks, Senator Warren and some of these other folks, got on this board on this train because of the amount of energy it takes to mine Bitcoin, right? To the point where some cities and states, right, they have to go back and forth and they have to kind of figure out, okay, how do we work with the Bitcoin miners in providing energy for what they need, right? But also having it capable or allowable for other services, like services, right? So, for instance, when Texas a couple years back went through kind of this winter storm thing, right? And the power grids were getting overwhelmed, right? Because they had these conditions, these requirements that people were posing on because they need heat, but also there was also this Bitcoin thing going on, okay? And so what happened is the miners got with the power plants and they came to an agreement and said, look, when there's not anything going on, we'll let you access all the power you want. But if there's an event such as extreme heat, extreme cold, where we need the electrical energy, we get to take it from you. You lower your Bitcoin mining, right? And then once everything is back to normal, we'll let you access it again. Okay. And so a lot of companies, and a lot of countries too, are now, they're not mining Bitcoin, right? What they're doing is creating power plants in order to be that energy producer because the process needs it. Although Bitcoin is going to eventually go away, right? The way Bitcoin works, it has a shelf life. 2042 is the last block that's going to be created, something like that, right? And Bitcoin will be gone, right? There'll be no more mining of Bitcoin. So whatever Bitcoin is out there in the world, that'll be it. That it has a finite amount of Bitcoin out there, right? Which works in different economic ways to create scarcity and that kind of thing, right? That's why you hear people say, "Oh, Bitcoin's gonna hit $1 million." Not right now, but eventually, if Bitcoin's still around, it will because we're going to adopt it more in our society, right? I mean, you can use it now for a lot of things, and there's gonna be a scarcity of it. There's gonna be no more Bitcoin, so there's gonna be 10 million Bitcoin out there, and somebody may own 1 million or 2 million, or Satoshi, Nakamoto, the inventor of Bitcoin, he owns 1 million Bitcoin, and it's locked up in a what way? They're not really sure what if it's locked up or if it's either destroyed or he burned it, whatever the case may be, right? The point is that the Bitcoin at some point is going to die, right? And so the energy requirement is going to go away, right? But there's other cryptocurrencies out there, right? There's other businesses that are going to happen in which, we need to facilitate a lot of power requirements, right? And understand, like, what is that going to do down the line to other things or to our society or to the user itself, right? How is Bitcoin going to, technically, right? Let's just say Bitcoin becomes reserve currency, right? The dollar dies off, and all of a sudden everybody's autonomous, and all we have is Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, right? Satoshi, who owns 1 million Bitcoin, will be the richest person on the planet because he has the most Bitcoin, or she, whoever it is, they have the most Bitcoin. It's locked up, it's not in circulation, but they have the most Bitcoin, technically, right? And so when you look at all these things that have been created, right, what is the impact after? Okay, this is where tort law, contract law comes in, strict liability, right? So caveat emptor. I can never say caveat emptor, right? Everybody know what caveat emptor means? No Latin people? No Latin? Caveat emptor is an old Latin term meaning buyer beware. Okay? Buyer beware. So when you go in as a buyer, you just need to be skeptical, right? Because it's not necessarily the merchant that's supposed to be honest and ethical. You don't know that. You're trusting them, but at the same time, you have to kind of inspect the product, right? Make sure that you're not getting duped. Make sure you're not buying something fake, right? This happens all the time, especially like in art, right? There's I forgot this happened a while ago, but You know, every other day, somebody's finding a Picasso or Rembrandt. Oh, it was in my attic. I didn't know my grandfather had it. And come to find out, they say, you know, I don't know, a Degas or something, or it's a Da Vinci, right? It's so old, right? Okay. They do all this testing and it's not real. But they already sold it, right? They already sold it for $75 million. Right? And so you have to be careful when you go in and buy things and you're purchasing, you make an agreement that you have to be on your P's and Q's because it's your responsibility to not get screwed over as a consumer. Okay? Especially when you're dealing with smaller entities, when you're dealing with mom and pop situations. Right? Because the bigger the corporation, the more likely they're above board. Because they don't want to deal with a million lawsuits. They're gonna go out of business. Right? I don't want to deal with all that. They got very formal rules. They have a lot of things where it doesn't allow them to really um, cheat in a very individual way. If they're gonna cheat, it's gonna be, you know, in a general way, in a way that is very much integrated or is part of the whole process, right? Like Wells Fargo sort of when they were creating fake accounts for customers, right? It wasn't just one teller, it was all of them, right? It was company wide. Didn't matter what location you went to, Florida, New York, California, Wells Fargo as an entity was creating fake accounts, right? And it needs to be on that scale, right? But if you go to a little bank here and they're opening fake accounts, you're probably not gonna know, right? It's just not something they might not tell you. They may tell you, but they probably won't. But that's on you to be responsible to go and see, okay, why do I have an extra account? I didn't open this, all right? I'm sure there are lots of accounts and things that are on your credit report that you're like, I did not do that. That wasn't me. Okay? It wasn't a company either. It was a lot of scammers and people trying to take advantage of other people, right? There are Nigerian prince emails, the scammers with the old little ladies or old people, right? IRS scaring them, right? The IRS will never call you. Okay, just so you know, the IRS doesn't call anybody. They just send letters, right? Because they specifically want to make sure that people understand, like, we don't call people. We could never call everybody. It's too much. We will mail you a letter. If we need something from you, you'll get a letter from the IRS. The IRS will never call you. Most government agencies will never call you, right? The VA, they don't call you, right? DHS, they don't call you. No government entity calls. They just send letters, right? So you have to understand that part also and be aware, right? All right, I'm gonna end here. Make sure you look at the rest of this PowerPoint because they talk about torts and strict liability and some other legal doctrines that are useful when we talk about lawsuits and kind of the ethical, um, I guess the ethical standards that they're expecting companies to have, right? And how consumers are protected under some of these laws, right? And just to understand, like, okay, how much responsibility do I have, right? To make sure that I don't get screwed over, or how much is responsibility of the company to make sure that they don't screw me over, they don't give me a product that is, they know is going to harm me at the end of the day, all right? And to just a certain degree, because we all know it doesn't matter. Cigarettes, soda, fast food, all these things are harmful to our health, right? But we still indulge in them, and companies still operate in that particular fashion to put chemicals in our food, right? To do GMO, right? And you pay extra for organic and all this free range chicken and bird, eggs, whatever it is, right? Everything organic, right? No pesticides. You pay for all that stuff, right? But companies also have a responsibility to make sure that, they do their best not to do that to you. Okay? All right, like I said, I have the case study graded as soon as I can and final draft this week, okay? And, I will see you guys next week.
Okay.